Florida losing to Iowa is like humans not being able to digest corn. Okay, if you're Florida, you know you can't digest corn. You know there were parts of this team that weren't as good as last year and were prone to fail in any game. So in this game, you were able to get by this season and just be better than a lot of teams. All right, simply put, you were just better. And then you run into these white boys from Iowa and they're giving you corn, corn, corn for 40 minutes, corn, corn, corn. And there's nothing you can do about it. Okay. And then you look after the game's over in the toilet and you say, I can't handle corn.
We're hanging out with half good sporting. No scoreboard needed, no need for reporting.
I'm gutted. I'm really, really just, I didn't think it would happen so soon. I did not think that it would happen so soon. Florida loses to Iowa 73-72. The mighty Hawkeyes just for 40 minutes just took us to the woodshed. I mean, it was terrible. The best way I can describe this in a fitting manner is Florida losing to Iowa is like humans not being able to digest corn. Okay, if you're Florida, you know you can't digest corn. You know there were parts of this team that weren't as good as last year and were prone to fail in any game. So in this game, you were able to get by this season and just be better than a lot of teams. All right, simply put, you were just better. And then you run into these white boys from Iowa and they're giving you corn, corn, corn for 40 minutes, corn, corn, corn. And there's nothing you can do about it. Okay. And then you look after the game's over in the toilet and you say, I can't handle corn. And that's what they did to you for 40 minutes. Is they pounded you with corn and you knew you couldn't handle it and you did it. And no matter how many times you can't handle the corn, you're going to keep eating the corn. Okay. And we had a piece of humble pie and a piece of corn as well. And we could not handle it. Okay. And as much as I want to say good game, let it be and be okay with it, I have to complain about the end of that game. Todd Golden in the post-game press conference says, we intended to foul up two. We are going to take our chances in overtime, which in retrospect, great idea. The analytics tell you maybe foul. If they miss one, you win. They haven't shot it too well from the free throw line, so go foul. So you press, and it's like, okay, maybe they are going to foul. And then Bennett Sturts breaks the press immediately. And everyone crashes to him, and you dish it to Fulgueras or whatever in the corner, and he, you know, makes the dagger. So if you're not going to foul, I understand not wanting to foul Sturts, but if your plan is to foul, just foul. Because you then again, now, then you don't foul. And now I'm asking why even press? They have been in a drought for 8 minutes when you've just gotten your half court set. They couldn't get a clean shot. So you're going to press, and now the likelihood of a clean shot is way higher. So what are we doing, right? I mean, we just can't handle the corn. We can't digest the corn. We never have been able to. We've been able to escape the corn all season, but the white boys from Iowa gave us corn for 40 minutes. Um, I mean, it was evident all year that there's no Walter Clayton on this team. Even if Boogie stays, I think Lee's out of eligibility, but even if Boogie stays, this Florida team is not going to be 2025 Florida, right? To the point where I want to say goodbye to Condon. Tommy's obviously gone. He's going to be a lottery pick. Xavier's going to graduate, okay? Let's usher in a new era and not temper expectations, but say, hey, if we're going to do this again, it's going to be with a new crop of players. And we're going to prove that our coach, Todd Golden, can do it with anybody. It wasn't just having three great guards one year and Tommy and Condon, right? So, yeah, man, I'm disgruntled. I'm flabbergasted. I've been bamboozled, hoodwinked, led astray by this basketball team. I'm gutted. I'm heartbroken. I'm stressed and anxious despite the result being well finalized. Okay, but I'm a broken man. And I hate to admit it, I'm so broken to the point where I set the microphone down so I could add more emotions and speak with two hands, right? Um, but yeah. And I'm gonna be honest, I hope that corn bit came off well when I said it because I've been plotting on that one for quite a bit. But yeah, I mean, just gutted. We're gonna see Iowa, Nebraska in the Sweet 16, and it's gonna be that game's gonna suck. Both teams play at a snail's pace, and it's just a bunch of white dudes that shoot threes. Um, it's the most Midwest you can get, and man, I'm mad that Florida's not gonna be in it. It sucks. All right, whatever. Bit late to do an intro, but if you're still here, we're gonna talk about the Sweet 16. We'll look forward to some matchups. And then if you're still with us at the end, we'll go back and look at some things that we saw from the first two rounds of March Madness. It's a great time of year. It's been such a good tournament. Obviously my team is now out of it, and I'm heartbroken because of that. But nonetheless, this is March. We keep on rolling. So let's talk about some games we got coming up. We're going to go in order. On Thursday, Texas, Purdue. Texas, um, the highest seeded team left in the tournament. I wouldn't go as far as to call them a Cinderella. Any other 11 seed is a Cinderella, but I don't know if the University of Texas, with the oil money and like the highest endowment in the country, I don't know if you can call that a Cinderella. They're not doing more with less. Frankly, in totality this year, they've kind of done less with more. Okay. So, not going to call this a Cinderella, but they've been a good story. But I think the buck stops here. Purdue really was not playing good basketball at all to finish off the year. But in the conference tournament and into March, they're starting to roll again. You're starting to see why they were the preseason number one team. Purdue favored by 7.5. It's an interesting spread. I don't think I would mess with that, but I think Purdue wins the ball game. And I think Texas's run stops here. 7:30, Iowa versus Nebraska. Okay, hold on. You know what I'm seeing right now? On Thursday, the Sweet 16, the first game's at 7:10. We still have 10:05 p.m. tip times. Illinois, Houston, that's terrible. Oh my God. It's like people have to go to bed. It's Thursday. Um, Whatever. That's neither here nor there. I'll be up, but I know other people who won't be. Iowa, Nebraska. This is going to be a hate watch, an all-time hate watch. I'm cheering for Nebraska so much. They're favored by 1.5. 9th Iowa. I think they're going to lose by 40 or 50, depending on how Bennett Sturts plays. But yeah, I'll be glued to this one, and I'll be the biggest Nebraska fan ever. No reason. No reason at all. Also, one more comment on this Florida game. This ball. This basketball right here is signed by Mike White. This is a Mike White signed basketball. And it's ironic because it felt like he coached last night's game against Iowa. Um, mm, I'm trying to keep my composure. All right. Arkansas, Arizona at 9:45. Past a couple people's bedtimes. The over-under here 168.5. Arizona favored by 8.5. They're thinking this is going to be an 88-80 type of ball game. I think Arkansas, here's the thing, Arkansas is going to score on you. It just depends on if it's they get points from like Brazil and Billy Richmond and the other ginormous European guy, right? Because you're gonna get it from Acuff. I think you're gonna get it from Malik Thomas. Um, can they get it from all five on the floor? Can they score 85? Because this game is probably a race. I think both teams score 80. It might be a race to 85 or 90. But Arizona's playing such good ball. Again, I think the 8.5 spread is correct. I think Arizona wins. I think this is what we've seen so many times in this tournament so far, where the lower seed is in it for about 30 minutes, and then the favorite pulls away and ends up covering the spread. And I think you see that a lot when you only have 2 days to prepare in a tournament game. Like in the round of 32, it happened a ton. It even happened in the round of 64. But the favorite, you know, they're trying to fix some things since their conference champion or conference tournament, and they're not necessarily looking forward to games. They got to focus on this first game, and then they only have 2 days prepared for the second game, so they're a little bit rattled in that first half. But then they come back out, and then they're like, okay, we know what we're up against now. Let's dial in. And then a lot of times they end up covering the spread after being tied for a while. I think you could see that here with Arkansas versus Arizona. And then Illinois, Houston. What I've noticed about Illinois watching them in this tournament is that they are huge. They just played VCU, and VCU is kind of my Cinderella team. And you're not necessarily a Cinderella story when you lose by 21, right? And you can call me on that if you think I'm wrong, but most of the time losing by 21 is not conducive to continuing your Cinderella story. Um, but Illinois is legit, and I might be a Houston hater. I might be a Houston hater. I might think their offense is not good enough to win 6 games in a row in this tournament. And Illinois has got the size and the physicality to hang with Illinois and beat them. So Houston favored by 3.5. Give me Illinois there. Um, and just take the spread. No need to go money line because spread gives you a couple more points to work with. So that's Thursday. Let's head on over to Friday with some big name programs playing on Friday. Kicking off at 7:10, St. John's versus Duke. The Dukies been struggling a little bit. St. John's been playing good ball. Could we see what could we see here? What could we see here? Duke fair by 6.5. This feels like I think we might be in a situation where St. John's is up 17-10, and you're like, oh boy, this is not 17-10 and Duke hasn't locked in yet. This is like Duke struggled to they made a few tough buckets, and St. John's is like physically and talent-wise capable of keeping this thing going. Give me St. John's there. Give me a 5 seed rolling to the Elite Eight after getting picked to be upset by a lot of people in the first round. Alabama, Michigan, 7:35. Michigan favored by 9.5, but the spread here, not the crazy part. The over-under on this game, 174.5. Michigan favored by 10. That means they're thinking this is going to be like a 92 82 to 82 ball game. That's ridiculous. And I'm gonna be honest, when the over-under is this high, you go over. You know, you sprinkle some coin on the over. Because I mean, it feels like Alabama would score 90 against anyone. But it also feels like Alabama's not good enough to beat Michigan. Ergo, Michigan's going to score a ton as well. So I think this one could be so epic. Give me 96-90 Michigan. Alabama covers the over hits. Michigan State, UConn 9:45. Again, so late. UConn, Michigan State, two teams. I think the winner of this gets bumped in the next round. I'll say that. I'll say that. UConn, Michigan State, the over-under is 136 and a half. Significantly more boring game than last time. Do you bet two coaches you shouldn't bet against in March? UConn has had more recent success. Michigan State has arguably had a better year. It's still probably UConn being a two seed, but UConn favored by 2.5. I like the over. Um, Especially if it's going to go down to the wire. I think there's free throws that push it over late in this game, but I don't have a good feel here. Just because I think both teams are not going to make the Final Four. Tennessee, Iowa State. Iowa State maybe has been the most impressive team in this tournament so far, by my estimation. But Tennessee also making a run. They just handled Virginia in a game that was they won by 7. Game was closer than that. It was they were knotted up pretty much all game. But I'm gonna be hard pressed to bet against Iowa State down the road here. So I think they win and they probably cover. All right. What do we see from the first round? Well, let me tell you what I saw on Twitter last night. Georgia fans, after Florida goes down, are loving it. They're loving it. And which is ironic because your coach is our sloppy seconds, and you just got taken to the woodshed by the Billikens, the St. Louis Billikens. Avila, sports goggles, dominated you. The game was over before it started. So to all those Georgia fans out there, except for Ed, because I respect Ed, kick rocks. How about that? And that's a little harsh because I'm just a little bit upset. I'm not in a good frame of mind to respectfully speak to rivals. But that's what I take it back. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. But don't get on Twitter when you got bounced in the first round in your 0-2 against us, and we lost. Like you can be happy we lost, but I don't think you entirely have room to speak on it. Let's talk about some other games. I'll shuffle through a few. Purdue, Miami was close. Purdue pulled away. Again, one of those where the favorite ends up pulling away and covering. Iowa State. Well, no, that one wasn't really. No, it was a 1 point game at half. Yeah, Iowa State, the favorite. They're knotted up, pulls away, starts covering, or not, or ends up covering. Um, St. John's, Kansas, elite ball game. That buzzer beater. Um, that's a tough shot. It's a tougher shot than it looks to drive, get contact, and the only way you can get up without getting blocked is to go up here, and you're not really looking at the basket or the ball, but you just got great court awareness, great feel, and St. John's wins it. And Kansas, I knew Kansas was gonna get bounced. They haven't really been impressive. Darren Peterson he's so good, but he's not a world beater. Okay, the other guys in that draft class have been world beaters at time and are just winners by nature. Uh, Darren Peterson, I think he's gonna have a good pro career, but I wish him the best of luck, and I hope he can be on the court for as long as possible. Tennessee, Virginia, good ball game. I think who was favored there? Oh, Tennessee was favored. So once again, game that's back and forth, and the favorite pulls away and covers. Utah State, Arizona, favorite pulls away and covers. UConn, UCLA, favorite pulls away and covers. Alabama, Texas Tech. Well, this was a pummeling from the get-go, but the favorite covered. Okay, all the favorites. No, no, it was St. John's. St. John's favored by 3.5, so St. John's didn't cover. But that's been the story of this tournament to me is look, let's go back to the second round. On Saturday's second round games. Michigan, St. Louis. Close game. Michigan ends up winning by 23. They covered. Michigan State, Louisville. What was the spread there? Michigan State covered, and they were up 5.5. So that was kind of a more of a normal game. TCU Duke, Duke handled them. Houston handled Texas A&M. They covered. Gonzaga got upset by Texas. We mentioned that. Illinois pulls away and covers. Nebraska Vandy was an elite ball game. Arkansas High Point was so much fun. Um, and then Friday. Um, Friday was the day where this take comes true. Is all I believe all the favorites on Friday won. So Kentucky overtime shot to beat Santa Clara, not to beat them, but Oteka Owe buzzer beater takes it to overtime. Kentucky pulls away and wins. Favorite wins. Florida dominates Prairie View. Texas Tech pulls away from Akron and covers. Arizona against LIU. That one was done before it started. Virginia survives a scary one against Wright State. Iowa State dominates Tennessee State. Bama beats Hofstra. Utah State beat Villanova. Tennessee handles Miami, Ohio. Tough way to go out for Miami, Ohio. Good year. You got to be happy with the year that you had if you're Miami, Ohio, that is. If you're Miami, Florida, you know, you're just okay. Iowa, Clemson. Iowa. Oh my God. I don't want to talk about it. Yeah, St. John's dominated Northern Iowa. UCLA beat UCF. Purdue dominated Queens. Cal Baptist, hey, Cal Baptist was my most confident underdog is going to cover the spread pick. And they lost, but they covered. Cali Bap, baby. That's my squad. Miami, Florida beat Missouri. UConn beat Furman. So, yeah, I think we've gotten our fair share of upsets and storylines in this tournament while also still having the best teams in the nation competing for the title. Other than, and I know I hate bringing it up because it just breaks my heart every time. Um, but yeah, all right. I don't have much more to talk about. We'll be back after the Elite Eight. And maybe if I have time, I'll do one on Saturday night between the Sweet 16 and the Elite Eight. Elite Eight. I tried to speak a little slower. I don't think I accomplished that in the second half, but in the first half of this video, I definitely did. If you're all the way back here at the end of this episode, thank you for watching. I love you. Bye.